live.
We're live.
Alive.
Oh, yeah, alive. Well, welcome everybody to this tonight's Diagnostic Discussion After Dark. Where my notes went. So tonight we've got, I don't think we have any real special guests, right?
Wait, you have
outside
notes?
special guest? Yeah, I have notes. Come on now.
You have notes?
Notes. I'm in my van. What else would I do in my van?
Where's all the Post-it stickers all over the van?
They're everywhere. You wouldn't believe it. So we've got a couple case studies tonight, as well as I believe we have a topic of interest.
A couple topics, I believe.
Ooh, I have some stuff I would like to talk about.
You would like to spoken about?
I would like to speak about some things.
Yes. We can see Rich Falco, he's got background is this year's 2020 Senate candle. Mm-hmm. It's a dumpster fire. Yeah,
love that.
Actually, no, that is the official Florida/New Jersey scented candle.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, are we kicking this one off with a case study?
Yeah.
Are we jumping right into it?
We're gonna
think
start
we
off,
are, Rich.
We're gonna start off right away with some fun stuff. So
Still right away with a case study because we don't have any super special outside guests today to introduce. So we're gonna.
What are you talking about?
It's just boring old us.
No, we have Mike Robinson here. You look real close, you can see the top of his head.
Where?
he's sealing him in some weird art thing.
That looks like some fantastic art. Was it a cobbler? What? No, I don't see a wine barrel in the background.
I do see the beam in the ceiling.
You got to tilt your head.
He might be pooping.
Oh, goodness.
Goodness gracious. Okay, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt all your stuff. Please, go on.
Well, Rich, what is your case study about tonight?
My case study is a pretty easy one. Like,
I like it easy.
yeah,
It's about always just trusting the scan tool, hook it up, read the code, shotgun the part, and go to town, right? That's all we do.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever the scan tool tells you, just like our customers think, we just hook it up and do whatever the box tells us.
Well, scan tools
that's-
never lie. So
Oh, Keith. Perkins, you were reminded to put your sunglasses on again because nobody can
Oh
recognize you.
yeah, nobody can figure out. Sorry, I just got them right here. I had them off.
oh, there,
Okay,
there's Keith.
there we
Hey,
go.
there
I,
he
didn't,
is.
I knew something wasn't right. It
It's
didn't feel
weird
right.
with-
Okay, we're good.
Just
There he is.
for anyone
yes.
that's unclear on the joke, I actually have divots in my skull where my sunglasses sit.
That's good, so they don't fall off.
Yeah, exactly. They during
That's
all
just
my
because they make the skull soft in Oklahoma. That's why.
no, actually they're pretty thick.
Well, you've only got 47 more states to insult.
Just bring them on. I can go. Don't get me started. on
Well, if you were
Ohio.
from Arkansas, it'd be 46. Because they don't count Kansas, right?
Yeah, I guess not. I don't know.
Nobody counts Kansas. What are you
Nobody-
talking about?
But for real, that's a valid question. If one is Kansas, why is the other one not Arkansas? I mean,
I don't know. It's not my Kansas. It's our Kansas.
It's our Kansas.
All right, mine. That's y'all Kansas.
Oh, I'm so glad we started this off with deep thoughts. This
Should
is
we-
stoner talk.
Should we even talk about Illinois? I mean, what?
No,
let's
no,
talk
no,
about-
no. All right.
Okay. Sorry.
So, try
Sorry.
to get back on track here.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Dumpster fire.
All right.
Focus.
Fire.
Focus.
I'm going to start sharing my screen, all right?
No.
Alrighty.
Not too bad.
don't you threaten me.
Here we go.
You got the right screen?
We'll find out.
Whoa, that's the wrong one. No
Do
kidding.
you guys see porn?
Yeah. Oh, wait, just keep it going.
That's,
It's okay.
that's my kind of porn.
I'm almost there. I'm almost there.
All
I have
right.
to
don't know
say,
what I walked into. but-
Hey!
Hey,
real
Defy.
got
quick,
the right
Rich,
thing.
I have to say I really like the background on this.
You like that background? I drew it myself.
Wow.
Interesting. You must have drew it for me.
I also lie a lot. So
Yeah.
all right. So my case study, like I said, is not a very difficult one. Chances are half the guys on your screen and watching the class are going to pick exactly what the problem is almost right away. And it honestly, I went into the shop and it took me a total of maybe 10 minutes to see what had happened. But going over that tech's diagnostic process and then my own, I realized, oh wow, there were a lot of wrong turns that could have been made or were made. So this is a 2006 Chevy Malibu with an airbag light on. I'm so glad this is the second time I'm presenting this class or this case study. I did it for the guys last night in my class, and I didn't realize I put airbag light on and oh no, I put ABS light on, and then I talked about the airbag all night, and they were completely confused. So
Well, ABS is airbag system, right?
airbag system, exactly. That was my excuse. All right, so
Makes total sense.
yeah, so we're all on the same page now. The airbag light is on in this car. The repair history is, let me jump to, oh, why isn't that working now?
Airbags do tend to slow a car down. Just
So I was in Pensacola, Florida, doing a class. So obviously this is pre-COVID. And a guy comes up to me after class and says, man, we got a car, this Malibu. It's got an airbag light on. No matter what I do, the light stays on. No matter what I do to the circuit, I get the same codes. Nothing ever changes. Do you mind coming over and taking a look at it? And when I'm teaching full time, that's my only chance to get into the shops is when they've got cars that are kicking their butt. So I said, absolutely. What codes you got? And he gave me the codes. B0012, B0013. I didn't know the repair history till I got there the next morning. So we'll walk you through what he did and what he struggled with. So the car originally came into the shop, and Tech B, I don't know Tech B, he doesn't come to my classes, but he did an air conditioning repair. The evaporator was replaced. So the whole dash and steering column are out of the car. Well, the air conditioning's fixed. Customer gets in the car and says, oh, my airbag light is on. It wasn't like that before. And for once, the customer's right. Ever since you is actually true. So Tech B can't find any problems with it. He doesn't. I don't. He doesn't know. Keith, that is so distracting. All I'm seeing
have to
is these
apologize.
eyes on my screen. All right, so Tech B can't find anything. The car is given to Tech A, their lead tech, a guy that comes to my classes. And of course, the light's on. He hooks up a scan tool. Now, I don't mean to beat up on scan tools, but I will tell you that all of the scan tools we used tonight gave us some bad information. So we
What?
start with, yeah, I know,
No.
hard to believe. From the
Uh-oh.
scan tool guy, we've got 2 scan tools that lie to us. But I didn't get a screen capture of his Snap-on, but he's using a Snap-on scan tool, and he's got B0012, B0013 driver frontal deployment loop circuit. After this car was fixed, I plugged in his Snap-on scan tool, and I created the problem again, and that is the exact terminology. That and nothing more was given to us from the scan tool. Now, this guy follows a pretty good, this is a smart tech, and he follows a pretty good diagnostic routine. He goes to his service information, he finds these codes. The first thing that jumps out at me is when we look at a 0012, 0013, we see there are DTC descriptors or symptom codes. This 01, 02, 04, 0D points to specific problems with the circuit itself. He's not getting that from a Snap-on scan tool. So he doesn't know if the circuit's open, if it's shorted, if it's a short to battery, a short to ground. He has no information on this. So he misses that part. He continues on looking at some of his description and operation, and we can see the sensing diagnostic module, the SDM, performs continuous diagnostic checks on the deployment loops to check for proper circuit continuity and for shorts to ground or voltage. Diagnostic aids, this code usually indicates poor connection or wiring malfunction between the SDM and the deployment loop. So his code description gives him some information. It tells him it's the driver side of the circuit. He takes a look at a wiring diagram. I got both an aftermarket and an OE wiring diagram up there on the screen, and there's really only one minor difference that I see between the two. If we look at the aftermarket wiring diagram, we see our airbag, we see our clock spring, we see our wires going back to the module, and there's an additional connector that is not labeled. So our aftermarket wiring diagram misses one little detail. We look at our OE wiring diagram, same sets of wires. There's our connector that's actually labeled. There's our clock spring. There's our airbag. So he understands the wiring. He is assuming that the technician who did the air conditioning repair left the connector disconnected. Maybe he pinched some wires somewhere. He does a visual inspection, doesn't see anything obvious, and he decides to go on his internet search. Take your pick. I call it the Identa U2 Google search. So wherever he's looking for his information, he's looking for a little bit of guidance. And there's a whole lot of silver bullets here. And I'm not beating up on our internet searches because you can get some good information out of them. But what he starts noticing is broken, they're calling it restraint coil, clock spring, clock spring, clock spring, clock spring, clock spring, clock spring, over and over and over again.
Even in the chat, someone's already had said clock spring. So
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, get the cannon ready.
Yeah. Well, to this guy's credit, he does some testing.
there you go.
Ooh. No way.
Yes, but realize
With a power probe.
No, not with a power probe.
No, with a multimeter.
We're getting there.
Okay.
The GM information doesn't give you a clear and straightforward flow chart on this, or at least I didn't see it in doing my research. What he noticed was when he put those two codes into the search, that one right in the middle there, DTC B0012 and 13, is the only one on here that lists both of those codes. So he clicks on this guy. I've done this before. I love using these search features correctly, because sometimes you get to this point and it says find the purple wire, and if it has this voltage then this is the problem, or whatever it may be, and it really shortens your diagnostics. Here the guy gives good information, but to a point.
Yes.
To a point.
Above resistance. So
That was going to be my question here. The test procedure: disconnect the airbag module connector between the clock spring and the SDM module. Install a load tool. A resistor, calm yourself, Chris. A resistor of 2 to 2.5 ohms, or an 1157 bulb. Has anybody used an 1157 bulb to do this test?
I've never done that.
3157, only one of the elements. The other one is like 0.4 ohms or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
So if he chose the right elements, he might have gotten it right.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't get the chance to recreate that test, but he was using the bulb because he didn't have the resistors. Because it's, at the bottom it says find your resistors at Radio Shack. Good luck.
I
finding
can tell how
Radio
old
Shack.
that is. It says 1157.
Yeah.
Do you guys have an 1157 laying around? But a 3157,
I
you
do.
can unfold the tangs onto a 3157. You can unfold them and use
All
them
right. There
to plug
we
them
go.
directly in. So yes,
That's a
I
good
used to use
point.
that before I had resistors and
Okay.
before AES Wave.
All right. So that's I have the AES Wave kit, so I never even thought about the bulb thing. But all right. So you heard it from Perkins. It is a valid test. So I have to tell you, I don't know exactly what element he was using, but following this diagnostic procedure, clear the codes, check to see if they reset. If the codes don't come back, plug the connector back in, making sure the shorting bar is pushed back in, and then remove the airbag module and install the load tool on the other side of the airbag, other side of the clock spring. Clear the codes. If the codes come back, replace the clock spring. If the codes are still gone, replace the airbag module. No matter what he did, the codes kept coming back. Well then, according to that, cut and dry means clock spring, right?
yeah, well, why are we talking about this?
4 clock springs and 2 airbags later.
Well, first of all, they were first of all they were dormant clock springs.
Well, all right. I will say this.
Sorry.
We all know how the guys in the shop think, which is, all right, it needs clock spring, get me a clock spring. And when that new part doesn't fix it, it's aftermarket, get me OE. And we get OE and that doesn't fix it, and then it's maybe we need a known good like a used, and if that doesn't fix it, and we're in an endless loop here, because no matter what clock spring he puts in, he gets the same results. The codes always come back. So
Justin said it needed a 5th clock spring. That would have.
yeah, yes, as he needed one more clock spring.
Got a bad batch. I mean,
If it was an
obviously.
aftermarket Ford alternator, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, at this point, if the test he's doing keeps giving him the exact same results, sooner or later, you start to doubt the module. Well, if everything's good, if I'm following every proper procedure, it probably needs that module. So that's the point they're at. They're ready to put a sensing and diagnostic module, the airbag module, in. So, it's my turn. I show up at the shop the next morning. I've already looked up B0012, B0013. More than likely saw the exact same information on MotoLogic that he found on Identifix. And I want to ask the mobile guys in the room here a question. How many times have you guys walked into a shop, diagnosed a problem, and heard from a technician or a shop owner, well, if I had those tools, I could have figured it out?
Every single day.
All the time, right? And I realized very early on in doing this for shops that was the I hate to say it, but that's the cop out that the techs have is, well, if I had the Pico and your amp clamp and this, I could have figured it out too. So I avoid that now.
I hand them the tools.
Go buy one.
Well, my goal as an instructor is to teach. So
I use their tools.
it's exactly. Now when I walk into a shop, I go, what tool did you use? All right, grab that. And I don't care what it is. Test light, power probe, snap-on scan tool, auto, whatever it is. Let's take your tools and let's fix
OTC
this car.
Pegasus. Let's rock and roll.
I trust me. Somebody handed me a snap-on brick one time, and I went, all right, this will be fun. Let's see what happens. So we're going to take their tools and we're going to struggle with it, and we're going to figure it out, or we're not going to figure it out, and that way the guys learn something. One of the most common pieces of feedback I get from certain classes that I do is, hey, that tool you showed me was cool, but I want to learn how to do that in my shop with the tools I already have. So my goal in going into a shop when I'm not doing mobile work, when I'm working with one of the guys that comes to my classes, is let's try to teach him with his equipment. Well, I got lucky. I said, all right, where's your scan tool? Somebody else has got it on a test drive. Okay, I go out to my van and I grab my Autel. My Autel is dead, and I just happen to have my launch, and it was charged up. So I throw my launch on the car, and this is the code that I get. It's B0012, it's B0013. Frontal deployment loop, low resistance. The launch does not give me the specific symptom code, but it tells me the state of the circuit. So I've already got more information than he has, because his said you got a circuit issue, but not what type of circuit issue. I've at least know low resistance. Now I'm thinking, yeah, this Tech B probably did short something out or plug something in wrong, or didn't get a connector all the way in and the shorting bars are stuck closed. So if I'm diagnosing the car and being the lazy person that I am, my question is always, what can I eliminate? What can I get rid of? What isn't the problem? You can call it divide and conquer or gaining a diagnostic direction, but I'm looking for a place to eliminate some possibilities. So I bring up the OE wiring diagram, and I realize, okay, there's a connector, C208, that separates all of the wiring in the column and the clock spring from the vehicle and the module itself. And the reason I have the OE wiring diagram up there is hot links to more information like locations. With 2 clicks, I've got the location of C208. And luckily, this entire car is still torn apart. So it's really simple and quick for me to get to this connector and unplug it. So I disconnect C208, I cycle the key, and I check codes. My 2 codes are back. B12, B13, but now the state is open. What do I know isn't wrong? Well, if I go back to the wiring diagram, oh wait, let me go forward. From C208, at least to the module itself, module recognized that this circuit went from shorted to open. I don't think I need to replace the SDM yet, do I?
No, but you do need to plug in your PC.
There we go. I must have kicked the charger off.
Yeah, I was trying to plug mine in.
I thought that was mine.
I hope I got
On a
everybody.
desktop, I was worried.
Two.
Not again.
Oh, good. I wish I could have planned that. That would have been great to put that in there as an animation. All right. So what I know is that I don't have to do any further testing from C208 all the way back to the SDM module. It appears that my problem is somewhere in the column. And now I'm thinking, yeah, what did they screw up? What did they short? What wires are stuck together or pinched somewhere? So reconnect C208, disconnect C1. Now, where'd my mouse go? Come on. Now I've got these wires all the way up to the clock spring. I've isolated the clock spring and the airbag from the rest of the system. So there's a connector at the back of the clock spring. With C28 plugged back in, my codes go back to low resistance. With that connector unplugged, my codes go to open.
Cool.
I've just confirmed. Sorry, Brian.
No, I said cool.
I know it's not a pinched wire up to this point. Everything's starting to point at the clock spring again. So I bust out the old Vantage, and with
was it his Vantage?
No, this was mine. That's my favorite.
Does he have a Vantage?
He has a multimeter.
Okay.
He has a multimeter, but I was concerned that maybe the connector itself wasn't opening the shorting clips. Maybe it wasn't seating properly. Maybe the aftermarket clock spring clips weren't pushing it in far enough. So what I did was bring up the graph and wiggle this connector, plug it in, unplug it, and I'm looking for the resistance to change here. And no matter what, I know it's tough to see there, I have zero resistance. The wires are dead shorted to each other.
Actually, 0.003.
Yeah, okay, so you can see it. All right.
Okay.
And there's the other clock spring. I grab the other clock spring and I plug it in and test it, and it's the same thing. And I'm not even 5 minutes in, and I realize the shorting bars aren't being pushed. The shorting bars aren't opening up and allowing this circuit to operate properly. I grab a little piece of a zip tie laying on the floor, and I slide it in along the top of this connector right here. And I realize it engages the shorting bars, and my Vantage goes to open. So with a piece of zip tie stuck in there, plug the airbag back in, I cycle the key, the codes go away. What the heck is going on? So, go back to my service information, and I realize that those wonderful little clips that keep you from pushing down the button and removing these connectors?
It serves an actual purpose in this particular case?
In this particular case, GM calls it a CPA. I thought a CPA was an accountant, but a CPA is a connector position assurance. And it is the CPA that actually pushes the shorting bars open on the back of the clock spring. So the problem here is Tech B. The guy who did the air conditioning repair left that connector off. He popped it out so he could get the connector disconnected, and it never made it back in.
Did you get a picture of the connector on?
I did.
Okay,
I did.
I was going to say for people to see what it looks like, so they can get a visual image.
Do you have one?
No, I thought you were going to show.
I do. Wait a second.
Okay.
Jesus, man. Jesus.
Well, just because I know what it looks like, and it's one of those ones where I recently dealt with one on like a similar error Malibu, and I think it'd be really good for technicians to see it to understand really what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that was one of the points I was going to make. Is
super simple.
There is a TSB on this, but GM does not give you a picture of what it is. They're like, hey, make sure the CPA is there. Well, if you don't know what it is, how would Tech A know that the CPA was missing? So, and I didn't know it at first. I didn't realize, and apparently this is an extremely common problem, but I do have a picture of it coming up here. So the first thing we do is go scrounge around Tech B's toolbox and workshop and floor looking for that connector, and he doesn't have it. So I ran to a junkyard at lunchtime, found a truck that still had it in there, brought it back, plugged it in. Car is fixed. Problem solved. So, quick and simple and easy. But wait, there's more. This would be that one. Something that I say in my classes is after any repair, successful or not, look back at what you did. Always look back over your service information, your scan data, your test results, your diagnostic procedure, and now you're knowing what the problem is. Oh, that stupid CPA. How could I have caught that better? And you'll start to recognize your blind spots. There's certain things that I always miss and always forget about or always mix up. And looking back, knowing the problem, we start to recognize it. So TSB searches. If you put B0012 and 13 into your search, you will get a TSB. for this problem. One of the, oh, come on. Why isn't my, there it is. One of my complaints with Identifix is when you do a search, there's just so much information that comes up that you sometimes lose simple things like TSBs, recalls, description, and operation, but it's there. And it covers cars from 2003 to 2014. So this is a problem if you haven't already run into it. You're probably gonna run into a guy who's run into it. This condition may be caused by a loose, missing, or damaged connector position assurance retainer at a supplemental inflatable restraint module electrical connector or deployment loop wiring harness electrical connector. The CPA was missing. MotoLogic, when I do a search for B0012 or 13, I get DTC and the TSB comes right up. So I guess if I had used MotoLogic first, I might have caught it a little bit quicker, or the tech might have caught it a little bit quicker. But the information is there. We go back and look at what we looked at, where we were seeing CLOCKSPRING everywhere. Look at description and operation. Look at circuit system testing number 1. Verify that the steering wheel module connector and the connector position assurance are engaged. So it is a common problem. The information is there. But if somebody said to me, is the CPA there? I would go, well, yeah, everything's plugged in. I wouldn't have thought twice about it. Connector position assurance, CLOCKSPRING connector, connector position. It's there. We just missed it, or we glanced over it, whatever it may be. So, but wait, there's more. I need to do my Billy Mays thing again. I realized as I was writing this case study, because I thought it was a cool one, and maybe guys haven't run into the CPA before, and I started bringing up all my captures from my launch, that my launch was wrong. And I hid the information from you guys just so I could bring up this point at the very end of it. The tech had told me, well, it's codes B00, 12, and 13, and I looked up 12 and 13, and it pointed me to the left side of the, it pointed me to the driver's side, and then I brought up my launch scan tool, and this is what you saw earlier, but what I have blocked out is the rest of the story. The launch tells me that a B0012 and a B0013 is the right front passenger deployment loop.
Cool.
So, think about if this tech had grabbed a launch first and he didn't do his research, he would have had the right side of the dash torn apart. He would have, and I would have rolled in with my Autel or whatever, and maybe I wouldn't have paid attention, and my testing would have started on the right side because the launch points to the wrong side of the car. So, for you Snap-on guys out there, I'm sorry I beat up on your Snap-on a little bit, but the launch also gave us bad information. So here it is, Rich Falco telling you, don't trust your scan tool. Do your research, do your homework. Don't trust scan tool definitions of codes, because just this week in writing this case study, I've seen 2 other things where the scan tool was wrong. I had a Hyundai with a knock sensor code, and it told me it was a glow plug code. The Snap-on scan tool said it was a glow plug issue.
Did you by chance check with like a Tech 2 or anything to see what that says?
I didn't. No.
Just curious.
No. That was as far as I went with this one. Once we realized what the CPA was, and you know what, the picture isn't. Hold on. All right, bear with me a second, because I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'll bring up that picture.
Why does he keep on looking at the ceiling?
I have a second monitor that's above my first one here. I'm in my temporary little office here.
That's where he gets his thoughts up top.
My house is under construction, so yeah.
So let me just get this straight, though. First, you tell us that to not use our scope or not trust not go right straight to the scope. Then it's not to go straight to the scan tool. I mean, or trust the scan tool. I'm almost out of tools here.
I need to make up my mind, right?
He just wants us to be car whisperers, I guess.
That's exactly.
Yes.
Well, I want to point out that the scan tool also called both them codes stage 2. one should have been stage 1 and the other one should have been stage 2.
So there's even more bad information. You're correct, Mike.
What does stage 1, stage 2 mean?
It's the different.
Deployments. The two different
Different
deployments.
stages.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's different stages. Come on, guys, it's right there.
It means it
So
can
they're-
go by weight and it can go by position of the seat
Yeah.
as far as how much they actually want to deploy the bag or how quickly they need to deploy the bag.
So there is the CPS, and this part of it keeps you from pushing that button down to remove the connector, but that extra little nose there is what actually pushes the shorting bar up.
That's the same
Oh,
width
but
as
you have a
zip
picture
tie.
of inside the airbag or inside the clock spring?
No, I don't.
Let me see if I can
forgot.
find one.
You got one?
See? And
Because
and
it's
this just
literally
proves-
a little tang of metal that touches the two posts together
Yep.
on the top, and then when you slide that in, it just pushes those off to where they're no longer touching both.
It was the clock spring
Oh.
that was off the car that I was plugging in and looking down the connector and realizing, well, something's missing here. Is
Hey,
this the
Rich.
wrong connector? What did I do wrong?
Hey, Rich, you know something?
Yes. What?
This picture right here proves you
Oh,
need
no.
every
Oh,
bit
no.
of length you can get.
Take it all the
so-
way
I
in there.
knew where
The
he
other
was
part of
going.
this is, by the way, there is no GM part number for that lock, just to let you know.
Uh-huh.
I can give you all a tip. MyAirbags.com sells these.
Ah, okay.
They get them from whomever it is that's manufacturing them for GM.
Might be worth it to pick up a couple and just keep.
Yeah, I have a box of probably, I don't know, it was 30 when I bought it. I'm probably down to about 11 or 12.
So I'm assuming you guys run into this all the time. This is the
Yeah.
first time I've seen it, and now I've probably gotten 4 phone calls, and right off the top of my head, I'm like, hey, guys, what about that connector? And they're like, what connector? And I explain it to them, and they go, oh, yeah, that's sitting on the floor. Yeah, try that. So,
You got to go and
I-
show them, man, so you can charge.
I have an
you know.
image that I blew up as much as I could, but it's still pretty grainy.
She said.
That was nice. Rich, thanks, man.
thank you. I thought that was a interesting, short, and easy
No, that
one.
was an awesome one. And actually, this is going to go into my my topic I would like to talk about later. So we'll go on then. So yeah. I got an awesome.
You have a topic.
I have a very important and pressing topic that will make a great discussion. And Rich, you actually played right into it.
Oh, okay, good.
No, it's in a good way. Trust me.
All right.
Well, do you want to just go with it?
Nope. I want to hear Keith's case study.
All right.
You sure? It's kind of boring and short.
It didn't
So-
stop me.
Yeah, this is true.
Story of my life.
Okay, I found a picture that I think is decent enough.
Let's see it.
Let me see here. Share screen.
This is exactly why I can't share pictures. Well, look
All right.
It's right there.
So it may be kind of hard to see, but they're labeled as shorting bars, and those little metal tangs are connected together at the bottom. So this one's to the far left.
I see.
Those two are one piece of metal, and the ones to the far right are one piece of metal. So with nothing attached, these two pins on the left are touching each other essentially. And when you depress the connector in, it pushes those metal pieces, the little spring metal clips, away from the pins, and they're no longer shorted.
Okay, now show the other one.
Yeah.
To the right. Yeah, let's go to our, yeah.
There's
so
that one.
sorting
Does
bars there.
very similar.
Mhm.
And that
then
one's
to the
a-
right of that there. This
that's
is
the-
the other.
Yep, that's the style that we're kind of used to.
Yep.
That's what I see the most of. These ones are the ones I see failed the most. The ones
Now
here.
there
on
are
the far
two
right.
styles there in that one picture, right? Because if we
Mhm.
look at that little black plastic lock
Mm.
that the body shops love to break.
Yep. They just take a
Uh,
pick and rip it off there. You don't need it.
That's
Screwdriver.
right. And,
Big
and that is
screwdriver.
a very, very complex fix there when you're going in and you're actually looking at this and it doesn't give you any scan data. And that thing is sitting just like that, but there's no arms on it because they glued it there.
Yep.
Yeah, those are my favorite.
Yep.
They'll glue everything.
And
Body
that one ends
shops
up
will-
getting a couple airbag parts before you figure it out sometimes. I have been bitten by that more than one time,
Yeah.
enough to where I pull them off and check now. If I get close enough to find out if they're there, I go ahead and pull them apart.
Were they just glued like the cover to it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right, let me get myself prepped here. I think I have.
Eric said, I always hook my airbag battery positive, battery negative, just to make sure the shorting bar is working.
It's the fastest way to know. There it is.
The most
sit right-
exciting.
Just sit right on the damn thing too.
I like South Main Auto's advice.
Great way to pop a hemorrhoid. You sit right on that thing.
So I'm going to show a little quick case study here. This is actually one that I did with Ivan from Pine Hollow Diagnostics. I had almost pretty much did the same as I normally do. I pre-diagnosed the car, and then I call somebody else in to watch their approach. But this was a good one, though, because I believe it was about 8 degrees out that night.
You like to see people struggle.
Well, yeah, and we wanted to do some work, but we wanted to do it from the driver's seat. And that was my goal, was to show how I did it, and then have him do the same. So let me get my share screen here.
Nice background.
Come on. You like that?
Yeah.
You made a mess on your paper there.
Yeah. Well, that was easy painting right there.
Okay.
That's about the best you'll get from me. So this was just a quick one here. Again, I wanted to be able to diagnose something from the driver's seat. I had actually looked around for a car all day long, and it was for the purpose of video that we wanted to do one of these. So we came across this one here. We had an F-250, 6.2 liter Super Duty. Customer called in to program a replacement trailer brake control module. And of course, I show up to the shop. I get ready to do exactly what they asked me to do. And it's never that easy. The problem is the trailer brake module that they want me to replace does not communicate. Does that sound like anything you mobile guys hit into? No? So I take a moment, I give the customer a call to find out if the no communication problem was the original problem that they were having. And of course, it was. So it's going to be a long night. Doing a simple diagnosis there. I'm going to ask these questions out there, and I'm hoping that we'll get some responses coming back in there from the comments section. And if we're just starting a diagnosis like this, what is the first thing that we need to identify in a case like this? And this includes you guys too. What would you do? You walked in there, this is a no communication with the trailer brake control module, and they want us to program it. What would be the first thing that you would do?
Powers and grounds.
Powers and grounds?
Yeah,
Who else is
grounds.
talking?
I want to see where it's at on the network, like wired up wise, like topology wise, and then I want to know if it's turned on in the IPC.
Ask for more money first.
I love it. I love it. All good answers. Right? So, what can we see as being wrong with the vehicle before touching the scan tool again?
Is it plugged in?
Well, I can assure you it's plugged in. The thing is just dangling there. It's plugged in. But what else can we do there? If I'm looking at a no communication issue, right, and I'm in this car, there's a couple things that I want to know, usually. Right? Do I have any other warning lights that are showing up on the dash? Should I have any indication at all? Does the car even start and run? Right? If we're thinking about it being a communication problem, first thing I want to know is, does this thing start and run? They didn't tell me that there was no communication with the module, so I don't even know if this thing starts and runs yet. Usually some of the early places that I start. If I hop on the scan tool, this is just me talking about the fact that I was familiarizing Ivan with his new tool. But for me, it's health check time.
Okay.
Would you agree? Go out
Yeah.
there, do a system test. And when you do a system test, know your scan tool. I'll say that because when you're doing it with certain scan tools, no names mentioned, they will skip past a module that did not scan and not tell you about it.
Mhm.
So in this case here, we have the Bosch ADS 625 hooked up on this one. The trailer brake control module that they asked me to come in there and program for them obviously says not scanned. That means it doesn't talk, or that it attempted to scan it and it wasn't able to. It doesn't just go away. It doesn't just take that off the list and only show me the ones that communicated.
That's nice.
That's an important piece. If you look down there at the bottom, you'll also notice airbag was not scanned. I look back up there again, those warning lights, that's why I mentioned it. That airbag light was on rock solid. It never turned off. It didn't do a bulb check, and yes, the vehicle did start and run. I go in there and I look at the body control module. He's awake and talking. Transfer case control module's talking. Steering column control module's talking. Parking aid and accessory protocol interface Well, parking aid, I can go outside and quickly check and say, yes, it's there. Accessory protocol interface, I didn't feel like going through this guy's work truck and trying to figure out, does it have a media port? If you would have saw the inside of it, you'd understand.
Makes sense.
So quickly looking at the codes that we pulled in there, the instrument cluster right away, and I know this is a little bit blurry, but I had to actually grab it from the video because I don't have the original screenshots. If you look on here, it'll say lost communication with trailer brake control module, lost communication with the restraints, and lost communication with parking assist. Exactly what we already saw there, right? Not being not scanned.
And all the modules are making the same complaint.
Nope. So the instrument cluster is complaining about it, and the ABS control module is complaining about it. And he's saying private communication network missing message. I don't know what that means, but I know that there's a communication issue going on here. Lost communication again with restraints and trailer brake. PCM has one DTC. I can tell you right now, it was not that there was no communication with the RCM. I believe that code was, let's see here, I actually have it up on my other screen.
Probably a
That
P1000.
was, yeah, it was actually like an evap code. So again, nothing at all to do with what we were looking for here, right? We have a couple of modules that are down, and only a few modules are actually flagging who's offline. So it says we have more than one communication fault here. We have a loss of communication with the airbag and parking aid modules as well. And of course, we need a better understanding of the layout.
We need
Would
a
you
wiring
agree? We
diagram.
need a wiring diagram, right?
Yep.
And this is what we said. So I'm going to go in here, and this should be able to pop up for you guys. No, it didn't. It goes back, which is what I don't want. Well, why won't it open? See, you guys are too fancy with this stuff. Let's do this. Yeah, but if I just go in here and open the darn thing.
Yeah, PowerPoint won't let you put a PDF in for some reason. You got to change it to like a different type of file.
Which is odd because it opens up from within the PDF. It opens up within it when it's not in presenter view.
Yeah, it's stupid.
So
Yeah, I just make it into an image usually.
I grabbed this from All Data.
Well, you gotta change. You
this
gotta
is-
change your screen share because
Yeah,
all we see is the
share
PDF.
share the
It's
other
not showing
screen.
it. I'm sorry, guys. Let me do this. New share. Should be this one. Can you see that
There
now?
you go.
Yeah,
Yep.
there we go. Cool.
All right. So this is borrowed in there from All Data. I got their permission to use it. This is the color wiring diagrams that they get. Now, I say that they get because they're not the ones who draw them. And it is not Mitchell either, by the way. But it's the exact same as what you'll see in Mitchell, and then you'll see it in some other programs as well, just redrawn. But this is their computer data lines package. I wanted to look at our high-speed CAN because the first thing that I noticed right away was that the parking aid module, which is down here, is showing that it's on the high-speed CAN. So following those back over here, they go up to here to pin 6 and 14, as expected. And they're showing it bridged. You notice that they have two pins, two wires coming out of 6 and 14?
Mm-hmm.
Not something we normally see, but I thought that was interesting right off the bat. And I started going down and looking to see who else was there. Steering column control module. This car does not have one. We also know that when we looked at it before on that scan, it said that there was nothing there to look at. This shows an APIM on here with sync, which we did not have. We had a basic radio, no sync, no media ports. And even if I didn't have that, the most important part of this here is looking for the ones that I do have. Telematics module, it does not have. Cluster, I was able to speak to the cluster. So that's a good sign, right? Our high-speed CAN must be awake. We
Or
already
at
knew
least,
that though because we
or
spoke
at least
to
it's, the CAN lines are good up to that point.
up to that point. I like that. So if you were looking at this, here's our trailer brake control module. If we looked at here and we saw trailer brake control module, transfer case control module, ABS being on a different leg. Notice this is not connected here, but it still shows it on the high-speed CAN. But if we took a quick look at this and we said trailer brake control modules here, it would almost make us think that we should actually start doing our testing around this area, right?
Sure.
At least, yeah.
Okay. I mean, if we really thought that there was a possibility that our trailer brake was down, and let's say that this leg, let's say that this was broken here, Well, it doesn't have a telematics, and it doesn't have an auxiliary heater control. So what if this connector right here, what if we just had a bad connection at C2108? It doesn't seem to go anywhere else to any of the other modules that are talking. The transfer case control module's down here, but he's branched in over here as well. So we could potentially have a broken connector here at 2108, according to this diagram, right?
What branches off at 5 and 6 there?
So going back at 5 and 6, let's go back up to the top. 5 and 6 come in here. They'll go
Down.
across and straight down to our A pin,
Okay. Which you can't communicate with.
which
Doesn't
it
have
does
it.
not have,
But it doesn't have it. Okay, so it doesn't matter.
right? So this is the layout that they give you. And this is what I was watching Ivan get himself into, and I purposely wanted him to look at this. And right away, when you look at something like this, it almost looks a little bit intimidating, doesn't it? Like it seems like everything is all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is where I find that a lot of techs will go out there and they think that the color diagrams are the way to go. I'm going to go skip back over here.
I hear you talking at me right now, Keith.
Well, you know. So let me get back over here for a moment.
I'm pretty sure this is a point where Keith and I usually yell at people about this very thing.
Yes, that would be right.
Yeah.
So here's the OE diagram.
I'll still
Now,
fight you on it.
Yeah. Let me get from here. All right, so here's our OE diagram. Taking a look on here, this is our data link connector. Here's our pins 6 and 14. Sure enough, 2 wires coming out, right, on each one of those pins. So although it looked odd, that was kind of normal. The first thing I noticed is my instrument panel cluster is here. I know for sure I can talk to him because he was flagging the code. Coming out here on A and B, I should let me go back a moment here too to the previous one. Just pay attention over here. You have A and B, E and F for the guys that are going to be following along. So coming out on A and B, that was bottom 2 legs. We have our wires that come out here. Here's our parking aid module. He's not talking. Our steering column control module, it does not have. Here's our restraints control module. He's also not talking. So we're going in a pretty good direction here, right? But I could stop back there and say, hey, you know, maybe we have a splice issue here, a connection issue here, even possibly broken all the way back to the data link connector, but I have to continue on the diagram. So I have to look at where C and D go. Looking at C and D, where they continue on, here's the PCM. Well, I had no problem at all talking to the PCM, and here's the ABS. I was able to talk to him. How much do we know right away about this problem that we have with this CAN communication problem that all these codes are flagging already? Now, all we've been doing so far has been sitting in the driver's seat. We pulled up a few diagrams, and we're going to use a little bit of logic. All right, so all we did was come in here. We noticed that as we came across from the data link connector coming into A and B, we followed it along. We found a parking aid module that's missing, the restraints control module that's missing, but we didn't stop there. We continued on that same path, and the next thing you know, we're at PCM and ABS. What is the difference between this and that color diagram as well? This is laid out in a manner that we could actually sit there and follow and say, hey, you know what? I know for sure that there's no way I have a wire breakage anywhere inside this area going all the way back to the data link connector. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Right? That would be impossible because we are making it all the way back here to our powertrain control module, and then it ends right here at the end of the line. Then, of course, it'll continue on from here on out, but we end, this is diesel here, but we end at the gasoline side. This is our end of that diagram.
Okay,
So
that's what I was missing. It says diesel. I was like, wait a second. Okay, go on.
Yeah, we're going gasoline here. I'm sorry. Yeah, when I'm moving the mouse, I wasn't paying attention. It's like a cat watching a fly on the screen. So, but we know a lot about this system already, and it's little things like this that when we start talking about diagrams, and it was this really is just more of a talking point than it is a case study. It is one of those things that I see all the time. When you look at those color wiring diagrams and you're looking at a layout and it looks like it's all over the place, take a moment, go in there and look at the OE diagram. The only problem with this car was actually a fuse. And it was actually a fuse with a little spade wire that went into it that was touching up against ground, and it kept on popping a fuse. But we never left the driver's seat of the car and went out there and started doing any network testing. If you were working with that original diagram, that color diagram, that would lead you in a direction, even if it was just to go out there and go look at that one module, say parking aid module, it would lead you in a direction where you would spend some time, go out there and potentially, again, look at the CAN communication wires. I mean, we have multiple modules there that aren't talking. A fuse that happens to feed all three was an oddball, and it turns out that the reason it was popping that fuse was because there was a wire there that was preventing it from. It had not only popped one fuse, it popped two. So I should have worded that better.
So can I stop you here real quick? 'Cause I
Yeah,
have a
please.
question. Because you attacked this with a purpose. You wanted to do diagnostic from the seat.
I always do,
yeah,
'cause I'm
you want
lazy.
you wanted there as a goal.
That's the
Now,
spirit.
so what would have been wrong with just if instead of going right to a network diagram, you can't communicate to a module. What would be wrong with checking powers and grounds and checking the fuse first?
So if you were to go out there and you were going to go check all the powers and grounds and fuse first, let's say we were missing a power, right? And we went out there and we decided that we wanted to go over to our fuse box. Before I start getting into power distribution diagrams, which I tend not to right away, I like to get an idea because I've already done a health check and I have multiple modules flagging that they cannot communicate, right? So I'm thinking in my mind already, this is communication possibility. We have a probable communication problem. Right? So if it was just one module that was offline, if it was just, say, the trailer brake control module, that would make sense to me. I would say, okay, I would go out there and check powers, grounds, and the communication wires directly at that module. But I have 3 modules that are flagging, and they're just saying, hey, no communication.
So that's what led you to go to a
And that's what
diagram
leads
first.
me towards looking at a communication diagram, because why, if I start going into the power distribution side of it, or if I start going into the individual systems, I now have a lot of diagrams in front of me. I like easy. Easy for me is hopping in there, looking for something that I know is centralized to all these systems, and it's a communication network. That's the easiest one that I can attack. Power distribution diagrams can be 10 pages long, and they can be partial here, partial there, depending upon the type of system that we have. What if it was to lead me over to, let's say that this was being fed not directly by a fuse, but by a power distribution box, an intelligent power distribution box. Now we want to go out there and say, okay, I have no power here. Let me go and check all the powers and grounds going into the intelligent power distribution module and start from there. So that can open up into a can of worms. For me, I see 3 communication codes for 3 separate modules. My first step is I'm going to pull up a wiring diagram for the communication lines, which I think, Keith, you said the same.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. And like you were saying with the diagrams, there's several times there you look at aftermarket drawn diagrams and there'd be connectors missing and stuff. You go on the
Sure.
OE side and they're there.
Sure, missing connectors and the layout of it, right? I mean, look at how this is laid out for us. It's in a nice consistent chain
It
going
flows.
across that
Yeah.
entire path.
Yeah, it flows.
You also gain a lot of information from that diagram that's not an aftermarket one.
Oh yeah.
Tons.
I mean, it makes
And-
obvious
and-
sense to us that a body control module's got more than one wire, but you guys see the dotted line on the inside of the BCM at the very top of the diagram that's shown now?
Mhm.
That dotted line at the very top where it says body control module, that dotted line inside the solid line means that we're not seeing all of the diagram for that module. Now, again, body control module, terrible example of what I'm talking about right now, because obviously a body control module has more than one wire. But this is true throughout the entire Ford wiring diagram system. So that data link connector, you see how it's solid, there's no dotted line anywhere around it? That's all of the wires going to the data link connector.
Right.
We're not missing any. We know this is a complete diagram for this component.
So
We don't have to go anywhere else.
this again feeds right into the topic I would like to talk about. Were you done, Keith? I didn't know.
Yep, we're all
Yeah,
done. I'm
yeah.
just going
I
to
was
stop
just
my
starting to
share
harp.
right now.
No. So Keith, let me ask you. For your case study, what would you say the moral of the story would be?
The moral of the story would be, in the event that you go in there and you look at a health check and you see communication codes, be sure that you spend the time to look at it as an overall picture before you begin touching anything, before you go out there and start stabbing into wires, grabbing test lights and running out there and checking. This vehicle, and it's shown in the video that I did with Pine Hollow, has over 75 fuses, and they're all located in, all throughout the vehicle. Do you want to go out there and spend the time to start checking 75 fuses just because? And if so, how do you get paid for that? How do you add that to your diagnostic time?
I think the
Well, my first 10 minutes were spent going around and checking 75 fuses.
Yeah, I think the
There's no reason for
most
that.
valuable part of it was that you developed a diagnostic strategy before you even touched anything on the car, other than
Exactly.
scan tool.
So I derived another one. Another point is know your scan tool.
Yeah.
That you're using.
Sure.
So from your case study, I got two basic lessons from that. Know your scan tool, and develop a diagnostic strategy before you go out and start disconnecting things and going nuts. Sound fair, right?
Absolutely.
Falco.
Yeah.
Your case study.
Uh-huh.
What would you say the moral of your story would be?
Probably the same thing. Know your scan tool. Understand what it is or isn't telling you.
Mm-hmm. So I got a couple, right?
All right.
So because I was actually taking notes. Believe it or not, I can actually do more than make jokes. So
and write obscenities.
And write obscenities.
Okay.
So I could see on your case study, you followed a logical diagnostic path and followed your steps in order. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And you told a story about circuit diagrams and following TSBs correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to make this point in this parallel. These elements are what I think make up a really great case study. All right. Case studies in general, what I found the best ones are the ones where you try to tell a story from start to finish. You are not looking to tell how awesome you are and how amazing you are. You're not looking to show how great the tooling that you use is and all the things that your tools can do. You're looking to teach a lesson, because we're a society of people that learn by lessons. There are many great books that are taught as lessons that you can learn by actually reading a lesson instead of saying do this and this and this and this. You show a diagnostic process and you're supposed to gain something from that and add that to your arsenal. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing a trend lately with case studies that I've been seeing in the various spots. And a lot of it is, look at what I did.
Look how smart I am.
And that's it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite case studies are the cars that just kill me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look how much of an easy thing that I totally missed because I got too caught up with this process, this scope, this tool, this thing, and I'm like, and I forgot to hold the key on for 6 seconds to turn it on. That's why the flash failed.
Mm-hmm. And again, what I find are the best case studies, again, are the ones that humanize you as a tech. I've been reading trade magazines since I started sweeping floors when I was 18 years old, and I've been seeing. I noticed the trend there. It was look how awesome I am. Look at what I did. And look how much it shows how awesome I am and how well I can do. And what I think is great about our forum that we have, especially because we have interactive case studies, and when you have Steckler on, and Chris Groff and Justin, we could stop in the middle of it and ask, okay, where did you go wrong, or get the truth about this, because that I find is more valuable than the actual answer itself. It's the story. Because at the end of the day, you fix the car, but it's how you got there which matters. And learning that lesson. What do you guys think about all that?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. The thing that oftentimes drives me nuts with some case studies, and I don't mean to pick on mobile guys, but a lot of mobile guys go, "Here's what I diagnosed." Okay, cool. Did that fix it? Oh, I don't know. I was on to my next one. Well, you gave me the story. You didn't give me the finish. And the other thing is, the other thing that drives me nuts is the only way you can fix this is with this tool. Well, if you don't have this tool, I don't know how you would have figured this out. Well, wait a minute. There's 20 different scan tools out there that could have gotten me to the same result. So just
I say that so rarely. The last one was an Isuzu with a super crazy anomaly on a single cam sensor. That's so rare that you have to have X tool.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's why I said in my case study that I get pushback in classes when I say, look at this neat new tool or whatever it is, and the guys go, oh, that's great, but can you show me how to do that in my with what I've got in my shop? So
Brandon, you're being awfully
No,
quiet
but,
over there.
but
What
I
do you
never
say?
got to my last slide.
Oh, what was your last slide?
oh, Keith,
Oh, rewind.
Well,
is
no,
that where
because
the
it's
autel
actually
fixed everything?
no, it's actually funny because I actually had forgotten that I had that slide in there, and I'm just gonna pop that back up there again because the last slide that came after this, I'll go from the current slide now.
Oh, I know which one it is. Yep.
That
Yes.
is exactly what my last slide was, and I was hoping that we'd touch on that.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, that kind of goes along somewhat with the tech talks that I did. If you guys remember, it was make sure that I think in your case, you're speaking about some things maybe that frustrate you with presenters that teaching case studies or articles or whatever. And I agree with you. I think a lot of the times we use case studies in classes just to do just that. Is maybe there's not, there's usually a lot of lessons learned, but they may not take the time to point out all of them, or maybe the mistakes in the process. But they at least give the technicians that are in attendance, if done right, an idea of how to approach that vehicle and kind of the diagnostic game plan that you mentioned. But there's certainly value in showing where you've messed up. And I think that that's important too, is just everybody attending this class, or this live stream, even if you're not writing your own case studies or publishing them or sharing them in class or submitting them to classes, when you're done diagnosing that vehicle accurately and high-fiving everybody, is to take the time to make sure that you
Document.
but analyze your process. What could you have done more efficiently?
Yeah.
And Keith's, in my direction, my deal with last week, I went in the wrong direction by checking connectors in the dash. Well, I could argue that it wasn't a bad decision because I knew that this problem happened after they put a donor dash in it, but ultimately it was the wrong call.
And exactly, and you learned a lesson, and you taught that lesson, which was very
more
important.
importantly, you shared that lesson.
Yes, and
if
I thought. Go on. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say if I could push back just a little bit on something that was said last week. We spent a lot of time with hands-on as the only way to learn, and I think these case studies and these YouTube or Zoom meetings can be incredibly interactive, and we can put up videos and scan data, and done right, somebody already said it, done right, you can learn from your living room. You can learn from a webinar. You don't have to be hands-on. That's what we all want. But done right, a case study, a subject, a discussion can teach guys, and they can retain that. As long as we're doing it right and keeping it interesting. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Hey, before I lose track of it here too, I just want to thank Sam Saley also. He gave us a $10 donation, and so did Dustin Harrison.
Oh,
Nice.
Damn, Dusty. Wow, thank you, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Tapping into the Bud Light money this week, huh?
so again, to go back to what we were talking about there, when we shared that case study with anybody, but it was the case study I feel was started incorrectly. It started with the answer, and it came out through as a case study, and there was no story told. But in the end of it, it was like they made sure to say that every test informed the next test, and that is exactly what didn't happen. And I would like to say, I'm gonna say this: stop. If you're gonna make the time to do a case study, make it for a reason. We're not looking to show off any tools. We're not making to show off how smart we are. You want to be able to get somebody to take some knowledge from that, or get one lesson or two from that. Be able to get something from besides, oh wow, this guy is super smart. he must know everything. We must follow everything, because when that happens, you can lead people down the wrong path. And now that I've scared everybody, you guys can talk. I told you
No.
guys I wasn't going to mention names, but I would like you to please go.
Well, I think it's important that we don't mention names, and that was tasteful. I think it's an absolute perfect point. I think, but we have to recognize the stuff that we see, whether it be on networks or in magazine articles. We have to do it peer review almost, right? We have to recognize that happens. So I agree.
Me over here trying to read this DM.
Is
So
that you? That is you.
So I'm gonna get off my high horse, but there was a point I definitely wanted to make and have made, and I'm hoping people will take this to heart, and I won't get calls. People won't call my boss calling me to yell at me, for what I'm doing to ruin the industry and
Yeah.
making sure these people don't make money. But I'm
Well,
hoping that we can affect change.
We got to be careful not to mention names, but your point is brought up, and I think it's very valid. And I think it's our responsibility as technicians. We're professionals. We're always seeking out opportunities to grow and learn. So we're looking at networks and Facebook groups and classes and articles. And I think, early on, sometimes it can be difficult to really call bullshit or to recognize bullshit, right? So, yeah. I don't know what else to say.
Hey, Bryn, would you mind grabbing that question that came in there? Francisco had donated $10 to us as well, but had a question. Is the Daytona event still on for next month?
I'm sorry, Francisco, but it is not.
I wish, but no.
Hey, Richard.
The whole state's locked down still pretty hardcore over there, right?
We had a
No.
You're funny, Keith.
there was
So
a question.
Falco.
There was a question way back about your airbag issue, asking what the purpose of that shorting bar is.
Oh,
Go ahead, Brad.
I posted it in there in a response, but it was so late it probably.
I think Chad. I think more than one person asked.
Okay.
Or asked to state the purpose of
I
it.
just would like us to address
to
it.
wrap that up. The shorting bars are there to prevent an accidental deployment of the airbag. If we were to unplug that and they were not dead shorted to each other, and somebody plugged the wrong thing in or did the wrong thing, it could deploy an airbag, and that's a bad day.
Static was one of the issues.
Yeah, static electricity. Yeah, issues like that. One of the shops down here apparently picked up one of the airbag modules in a Toyota and flipped it upside down to look at the part number, and all of the airbags in the car deployed. So we want to prevent that from happening. So
that would be awesome to see.
As long as it wasn't the car you were working on.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So it's to prevent accidental deployment from static electricity or any other reason. If they're dead shorted, we can't get any current in there, and problem solved.
Yeah. Going back to the event, these decisions are tough to make. Of course, we want to get together, but ultimately it's just tough, especially as an association, but any kind of organization, it's tough to, the risk there being there. Liability with everything going on. But I don't know that there's anything we can say informally. It looks like there's going to be something pretty cool on a virtual side. And I've always complained in the industry, especially within associations, when you have like a national brand and then you have affiliates that, chapters or affiliates branching off from that. One thing that I've always been frustrated about is the non-unity, if that makes sense. And it looks like there may be something that's going to be a unified approach to something virtual coming, and which should be cool. Which brings us to BIMers. BIMers it's the first virtual event that I attended. You guys have attended. Chris, you taught at the ATE one, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. This one, I didn't go to the others, so I can't speak for any other virtual events, but this one was pretty interesting. Of course, we want to be in person, but they did a pretty good job putting this together. And of course, Sherry Hamilton and her team were quite a bit behind putting this together. And many of you know she does the vision. training event. So definitely not the same as being in person, but pretty cool nonetheless. So hopefully we can do something similar.
There was a question in chat about has anyone seen someone deploy an airbag accidentally while testing?
Yes. Several
Me?
times.
There is a video of a pretty prominent individual on the internet that flipped a module with it on, and it was live on camera. Or not live, it was on camera.
They did that intentionally or accidentally?
No, it was an accident, and it was filmed. And nobody was hurt.
How did it
was
deploy?
Whoops.
Key on, flip the ORC over, flip the module over.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm
Was that
sorry,
a Euro
Chris, can
or
you say that
something?
again? What was that you said? That's what I
Whoops.
thought you said.
But wait a minute. Dusty told us that would fix that last car.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and,
we all
and
watched
Brian,
Dusty set a Mercedes on fire.
and Brian, the answer to how did it deploy? The answer is fully.
Oh, thank
Yeah, it was all of them. Yes.
All stages.
Yes.
All the airbags. Gosh, that's awesome.
It was terrible.
Yeah, watching Dustin's fire video was nowhere near as funny as yours, Brian. That was tragic.
I
Wait,
got
that
mine.
fire video, that was Dusty?
I got mine out way
Yeah.
faster than
I just
him.
thought he shared it.
No, man.
No, it was him. I could tell from his body language it was him. I was like, oh, yeah, here we go.
I
Mr.
didn't,
Ginger can move.
I didn't whisk out and use any fire extinguishers. I used water and my breath. Went right out.
Also deployed in his pants. Yeah. Be a good day to wear the brown pants.
Dustin,
Yeah.
was that
Another-
one was that when the tool ignited it? Answer it in the chat. I just want to know if that was the one. I think that was the one.
I also want to thank Dave Osmond, $20 donation.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
These
Thank
are
you.
awesome. Wow, so we might actually finishing up here reasonably.
Mr. Michael.
Well, I thought we were going to
Whitman.
have that discussion.
Well, I was in the middle of having the discussion. I was trying to ask. I wanted to ask Rich's thoughts because he was quiet about what I was saying.
You
Hey,
can
real quick,
remember
if
back that
Mr.
far?
If there's a Michael Whitman, if you're listening to me, reach out to me on Facebook.
Yeah, he was actually looking for you, Tommy.
Yeah, I know. I'm reading through the chat.
Are we
I'll
gonna
send
bring
you
up?
my email address.
Are we gonna bring up the topic you're mentioning, Bryn?
I don't know. I don't think Chris is quite done with his. He was asking Rich Falco.
That's-
Were you
that's-
asking me about what?
Oh, you were eating your sandwich, Rich?
No, no.
Pay attention.
I can't
Jeez.
get my camera to work.
Oh, I wanted to know your
Well,
thoughts
you
about what I
look, you
said.
look better this way.
Yeah. Well, I am on the screen. That's me right in the bottom there.
Yeah.
What?
A long time ago.
Hey.
Decades, in fact. Did you see the RT?
I've only worked for CTI for 5 years now. Give me a break.
Well, you've had a
It's
For
been
the
a
last
rough-
5 years.
Rough 2020.
You slow fuck. Oh God! What? Sorry, Chris. What was your question?
I wanted to know your thoughts. On
My
what I was
thoughts
saying.
on
case studies done improperly for ego and selling tools and
yeah. I think I
Okay, moving on.
shared my opinion on that one. Yeah.
I-
So.
Okay, moving on, Brent. Let's go to your topic because yours seems much more friendly than mine.
it's not. I don't really know what to say. I mean, the right to repair, like 2.0, I guess is. I don't know what the actual ballot initiative or ballot term is, but that's coming up in November for Massachusetts at this point. But obviously, what happened in Massachusetts for right to repair 1.0 affected us all. So I just was curious if anybody really had in the audience or any of you had anything specific, what you know about, what you don't know about it. I don't really, it's still kind of muddy for me. And I was curious if anybody else had any thoughts.
Can we invite them to get on with us?
Well, I guess if somebody has, we'd have to share a link, wouldn't we?
Sure. Anybody?
Sure.
Waiting. Still
Here?
waiting.
Anyways.
Of course, there's like a 40-second delay.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so-
right. Yeah. I just went back to work. PJ says. Anyways, so what do we know about 1.0? Is it
Michael Whitman wants
positive
to know
overall?
what
Is it negative? What?
Michael wants to know what would be the downfall of the Massachusetts bill.
It's supposed to be positive, right?
Well, what I can say is it's not. From what I understand, part of the problem is that we really haven't talked to or negotiated with the automakers. And so there's a couple ways to going about this. And 2.0 is really about data access and wireless and data access and cybersecurity stuff. Obviously 1.0 had to do more with, the aftermarket's ability to access information and scan tool stuff and module programming and all that encompass kind of that stuff. 2.0 really is about data access, cybersecurity. So there's two ways of going about it. We can start, legislation and basically start a war, or we can try to, negotiate what we have available to us. So there's like a peaceful way and there's not a peaceful way. And Right to Repair 2.0 is obviously not really the peaceful way. And OEs are spending a lot of money to fight this thing. The other thing that I see with Right to Repair 2.0 or this legislation is you have the obvious question, what it's going to do for us if Right to Repair does not pass or 2.0 does not pass. But then the other thing to think about is it's like going into game 2 after losing a game, right? If we do lose this, or I shouldn't say if Right to Repair 2.0 fails at this point, are we going to be stronger moving forward fighting for our rights or weaker? So that's just something to consider.
Mike Reynolds says, I think data access is going to be impossible for legislation to manage in a way emissions was.
The other part of this is because it's, I don't know that it's probably going to be fun to have 50 different state, not to suggest that that's going to happen because, if it follows suit as 1.0, then Massachusetts at this point is not the only state that has the same laws that passed, but Massachusetts was the first, and it may do similar stuff with 2.0. But I think the goal really would have been put something together on more of a federal level. The other answer to why it's maybe would be the downfall or the downside is, do you guys think we've discussed it enough? Think about 1.0. Did it limit us? I mean, it obviously did, or we wouldn't be at 2.0. So
Actually, I have a question on that.
Go ahead.
What do you think we gained from the first Right to Repair Act?
That's kind of what I brought to the table when I first started. I mean, and like we mentioned, Mike, if you want to come on, let us know. We'll send you a link. But unfortunately, does anybody here amongst us want to talk about? I mean, obviously, here's from what I understand, and whether you hate or love NASTAF, it originated to be a liaison. I mean, they don't have any policing authority with OEs, but it was a liaison between aftermarket and OEs so that the aftermarket could have access. So when Right to Repair 2.0 came along, the thought was at the time was, do we really need this because we're already starting and we've already got OEs to agree to make sure that we're getting the access we need to fix cars, basically not create a monopoly. But the short answer, why don't you, Mike, what do you think we gained? Kevin,
I sent him a link. Hopefully he sees it.
Yeah. Kevin DeVito is the owner of Mass Mobile Auto Solutions. Recently, he, along with ASA, and I think it was a scan tool manufacturer as well, we're in Washington, D.C., and they went on record during some of these hearings to talk about this stuff. But Mike, what are your thoughts on 1.0? What we gained? What maybe the positives, maybe the negatives?
Well, from being a technician in the field before and during that being enacted, I almost think we lost some of the abilities that we did. People always thought that OE scan tools weren't available before, service information wasn't available before, and to be honest, it all was. Whether your shop wanted to pay for it or not, that's your choice.
That's
Now, it almost seems like some of it is more more difficult to access. Some of that, it's still all available, but it costs you a little bit more. Um,
Okay, so define a
and
little bit
not every,
more.
huh?
I said,
Chrysler.
when you say those words, you have to define a little bit more.
It costs you more money, and sometimes it costs you more aggravation, um, as some tools seem to be on back order more than others. Um, and that could be because people are buying them more. But from what I see, the aftermarket in the majority does not use what is available to them. They don't, buy the OE tools. They don't purchase, even for a 3-day sub, they don't even purchase them subscriptions to access, the OE information that's available. So, in a way, in my opinion, the first one was a waste of time, in a sense.
Yeah, I don't know that I would say a waste of time. It's hard to say because there's so many different aspects to it.
I'll touch on that. So being a part of all that when it first got started, I will say that in terms of every scan tool being available, that was not true. Nissan would not release their scan tool. It was not even available for sale until Right to Repair pushed it forward. It was not something that could be purchased on the outside. When it became available after Right to Repair pushed for it to be available, and that was during the time of the branch off of NASTF. Um, it also magically went on to a national back order indefinitely. I was lucky enough to get in there during the first day of the release and get one. That was a Nissan Consult 2 at the time. But outside of that, though, people had paid their money and waited over a year and still didn't receive a tool after that, simply because the availability had just come out.
We have Mike Reynolds.
Well,
Mikey!
What up, Mike?
Hey, thank y'all for having me.
Hey.
Hey, hey.
What's going on, sir?
And that's all the time we have for tonight. So we'll.
No, I hope I didn't interrupt. I was listening to you, Keith.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, I was just sitting there and going over, there was a couple of things that had come into play. Service information being one of them. Service information was we were in a position where the manufacturers had what they considered to be a 2-year hold. They did not want to have to release anything to us for at least 2 years. That was done away with, and it was done away with incrementally, as per that Right to Repair as well. So things that were there, at first it became, we'll only give you things that are emissions related. That's all the service information that we have to provide you with. And then as the systems became more integrated, Right to Repair did not stop under the first legislation. They were smart enough to know ahead of time that there was going to be systems that would have crossover. Anti-lock brakes that could be turning on a check engine light, things of that nature. So if the check engine light was there for only emissions related purposes, which is what SAE originally intended, then anything at all that has to do with ABS that could potentially turn on the light had to be made available as well. So there was more in that original bill than it seems on the surface there. On the surface, we think, they had to provide us with enough service information tools. There was there were so many different facets of that I think that I think it went a long way to help out the industry. At the same time, the one piece that was missing in my mind was, and it was right from the very beginning, was that we had no way to litigate um, how much they could charge for said information, tooling, and so on. Which I think is probably why Mike popped right in here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm big on this topic, and I'm glad you guys brought it up. I think this is a really important time to be talking about that. So if we talk about emissions, right? Emissions was what brought the original right to repair on, and now we look at Tesla. Tesla doesn't have to fight emissions, right? So as we're moving forward, I think this is going to be a really big thing. We have no leg to stand on as far as getting access to all electric vehicles. So if any of the current OEMs want to make an all-electric vehicle, they may not have to release that information. And that's why I think this whole push for data may be big for us. And I don't know how that pans out as far as legislation, because data is such a vague thing. How do you control it? How do you manage it? But if we can get access to Tesla because of data, if we can get access to other vehicle manufacturers because of data where we can't because of emissions regulations, I think that's our only in. And I've talked to Bryn a couple times about this. I really think that the organizations like ASA, and I believe ASA is really the biggest one that is pushing for this type of stuff. I think we all need to get involved. And actually, I'm late to the game. I just signed up for my own company's ASA membership about a month ago. But I'm way behind. I think we all need to get behind that. And hopefully, that's the push we can get to get us access and keep us having access going forward.
You mentioned that. Geez, that's got to be like 3 years ago. You talked about that. Your thoughts on data being a big thing moving forward, because emissions is going to kind of become potentially second. It's going to be an afterthought anymore, I guess, to some degree. The increase in electric vehicles and hybrid electric.
Sure,
So,
look at what California just did, right? That bill that just passed.
Here's my thought. And so 2.0 is really about cybersecurity data access. I don't know that anybody here understands really the details. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, right? In the aftermarket, we want to make sure that we have access to data. I don't think it's quite that simple, is really the only reason I bring this up. There's a lot of stuff we don't know. What is it exactly that Right to Repair 2.0 wants from the manufacturers? It could be a scenario where they make it too easy for people to access the data. And you could think of it somewhat, at least I do right now, just off the top of my head, think of it as similar to buying refrigerant 30-pound containers or 10 pounds of 1234YF when a consumer can buy 12 ounces. So it could be, those are, I don't know. I don't really know. That's my concern, is that you have, obviously you can't trust vehicle manufacturers because data is very valuable and they want to, so you can't trust that they're going to do the right thing by us. But at the same side, it's like one extreme versus the other. We really need to be thinking in the middle, in terms of being in the middle, where, I don't know. It's definitely not a clear cut. It's not as clear cut as it seems. And most of the aftermarket really hasn't paid attention to this. I said that this last night, until the scare tactics were developed recently by Mercedes, is one with their videos where you're basically going to get raped if you vote no on R2R.
Hey Perkins, are you able to queue that up into small enough?
Yes. Give me 8 minutes. Continue your thoughts. I'll get it ready.
Yep. I kind of.
Yeah.
And
that's where I think. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike.
So that's where I think this is really important. I mean, if you look at the YTech system, you don't actually talk to a scan tool. You're logged into the YTech server, and the tool is actually communicating directly to the server, right? So going forward, we're not very far away from that being the protocol. So just like Tesla's system, where there is no scan tool, you have to log into the vehicle. And at that point, when there's no scan tool, what are we going to do? What are we going to fight for? But the other side of that is the OEM's push as well. If everybody has access to this data, the vehicle's secure. I mean, the secure gateway came about because somebody hacked into a vehicle. So that's a big concern for them as well. But I don't think we're too far along from, not having scan tools at all, and we're going to need to have that access.
As of
So-
right now, Tesla dials in to the vehicle. If somebody says they're bringing in their car for a service, say a broken door handle, that car is scanned before it even makes it to the dealer. It's done remotely, and they scan this as the customer is just sitting there driving down towards Tesla to come down there and do that, and they'll have the door handle ready to go by the time the vehicle gets there if they determine that's what it is based upon the scan.
Yep.
Well,
And the OEMs
that's-
are reasonable to request that other people can't have access to that vehicle, especially while it's on the road. So, that's kind of a scary thing, I think, for us.
Sure.
For sure, we want access, and that's definitely necessary moving forward. We don't want to lose what we have. We have to be able to retain what we have, and actually, you got a video queued up, Keith?
That'll be
3
one of
minutes.
the big things is who owns that data.
Yeah, I like the initiative that the vehicle owner should be able to own their data. I mean, I like that, and I think that we should be able to have access. They should be able to choose, but I just don't know. I don't think that R2R 2.0 is the only way. But the problem is that ship has sailed, right? So like now, what do we do? I mean, if I was in Massachusetts, I'd be torn. I personally don't know that was the answer, but now that it's in effect, I don't know that I would choose no, but like what separates us from the do-it-yourselfer? What separates us from anybody for that matter? If I don't know what this is going to look like, I don't know that anybody knows the specifics of what 2.0 is going to look like. What does Massachusetts and this ballot initiative want for manufacturers? I don't know.
I think the only way we have a leg to stand on is if everybody is unified in this movement, though. I think that's our big challenge is.
Well, that's kind of what the push for ASA is, to get people involved, to pay attention, that it's something that we need to think about. But the problem is my perspective, and I'm not speaking for ASA, is that this came about really without the industry's involvement. Bottom line.
Yep. Yeah. And we're behind the 8 ball. I mean, ultimately, to imagine Fiat Chrysler, what really would separate somebody from an independent repair shop from a backyard mechanic or anybody? I mean, anybody can create a business license for a shop. So I think we need something in, some sort of membership, something that kind of groups us all together, which we don't have. And I don't know what that looks like, but.
That's where I think the first one could have been better.
Okay, got it.
Like defining
Well, if you
maybe
guys,
a
and before you,
definition of a technician.
yeah, no, I agree. And before you cue this, I just want to say one more thing. And I'm not saying that I'm for or against it. I think the waters are muddy. All I'm saying is I think right to repair just seems like a no-brainer, right? The term in itself is brilliant. Like, who wouldn't vote yes for that? All I'm saying is it's not quite as clear as it seems to be. There's a lot more to it, I think, than most of us, or maybe even any of us, know. And I think any of us, because we have to think about what's technologies coming 5 years from now, for that matter. And I think that's kind of why we're here. We're in the position we're in now, is because we really didn't think about what was going to be coming down the pipe as much. But one thing that, if you listen to Bill Haas, did a thing with CARM a while back, and he had a pretty decent point. And I bring it kind of back to refrigerant. Back when R12 was a thing, and then they phased R12 out and put into 134. In his opinion, the industry had an opportunity to capitalize on that changeover with regard to having to be, I don't know, basically the aftermarket is behind what allows consumers to buy 12, 11 ounce cans of refrigerant. That the aftermarket, when I say the aftermarket, it's parts distributors are behind that. I mean, because who makes the most money and who's most unified in this? In our industry, what I call the aftermarket is parts distributors. Are shops unified? No, absolutely not. I mean, there's organizations, and I say ASA, we're not the only one. Obviously, there's the IGO, there's AASPA, there's associations everywhere, but still overwhelmingly the aftermarket repair segment is not unified. Aftermarket parts is.
My dear Jesus.
Yeah, I wanna say things are about to get awesome.
Oh man.
What's up?
Dustin's in the house.
It's the
but
dust.
You made it.
But he's muted. Unmute yourself. Press the mute button, man. Let's hear you talk.
Well, let's make sure we got a filter for Dustin. We gotta
There is no filter strong enough.
really quick, with ADOS, cybersecurity, data access, I think as an aftermarket, we have an opportunity to separate ourselves from non-professionals, and that's all I have to say. Go, Dustin, go.
Yeah, you're muted still. You got to unmute yourself. Brian, can you unmute him? Now you go. Oh, wait, do it again. Do it again. There we go. Hey.
All right. Look,
It's
hey,
the dust.
hey, what's up, guys? All of you are very, much steeples to our industry. All of you guys, excel in learning for everyone, as well as, push the industry forward. What's happening right now? A lot of us were still techs before the Right to Repair Act was here, and we did not have the information available that we do now. And right now, unfortunately for me, I'm in a lot of first owner cars. So when it comes to that, I'm working on 2017s, 2018s, 2019s, just like you mobile guys. But the difference is, as a shop, now we're seeing the electric vehicle push. We have Teslas coming in. We have no way to program them. We have very little service data. We have very little ability to buy parts even from them. We have the Porsche Taycans now starting to come in and need things, and Porsche's starting to lock us out. It's literally becoming the Mercedes TRP of the fucking excuse me. Yeah.
Of the bucket? You said bucket?
It took a lot longer than I thought it would.
Yeah. My bad. But it's becoming the Mercedes TRP of the world right now. And if we don't have legislation in our side to stop this, we're going to be in a world of trouble, like flat out. I mean, if I do believe that, every single service center, like owner of some sort, should be a security professional. It needs to be done. It flat out needs to be done. If you care about your industry and you care about, being able to fix cars that no one else can, as well as, having the information available, then this is just not going to be possible without the RTR2. I mean, I hate to say it.
First of all, everybody in the chat, can we get a thumbs up for Dustin goddamn Harrison?
The dust.
But I mean, but what I'm trying to say is that the R2R did affect us, and it did affect us greatly. We never had Zentry. Here. You know what I mean? And then, now shops that can afford a $36,000 fucking, excuse me again.
Number two.
Right, a $36,000 program, for a lease of 3 years, they can get it. We never had Pee-wees either. I mean, Pee-wees is still hard to get. I mean, you could get the J35, 34 program and do, your basics. But actual real Pee-wees, Pee-wees 3 is, $46,000. And that's what it costs, but it is available. And if you're a Porsche only shop, 46 grand on a Porsche is 3 tickets. So, I mean, we need to understand these decibels of the impacts that the R2R did, in fact, implement. And we need to keep this going, because these electric cars with no emissions are going to create a very big loophole for these manufacturers. Now they don't have to give us emissions data. Now they don't have to give us anything. And we're already running into this right now.
Right. What year is California supposed to do away with all gasoline vehicles?
What, 2035?
2035.
That's
Real
right
quick,
around
can we
the
do an
corner.
audio check
Texas.
on this video?
Yeah.
It's an audio
Yeah.
check.
Just want to make sure this works.
Oh dear Lord.
Can you hear it?
No.
Can't see it.
I think they can see it, hear it though.
Oh.
All right, we'll stop there, and somebody in the chat tell me if they could hear that.
I can see it, but I can't see it on the screen.
I would have to hear it for them to hear it, and I don't hear it. So.
Are you sure? Because it's out of my audio mix.
What does it sound?
Make your screen full screen.
make my school mine.
If you share that screen, it might work.
I don't know about all
But
that.
then you can't go full screen.
I can't go full screen, otherwise we'll get a copyright thing on us.
Gotcha.
Well, I
I
think
am
most
sharing the
people,
screen that one's on. It's on my third monitor, but I think the audio mixes out.
I think most people have seen it. If you haven't, I think that's easy. You can find it easily. Probably post the link in the chat. But
in a world where service information can rape your wife, that's basically what it's saying.
I mean, but the thing is realistically is they're trying to say that, hey, look, we're going to create IP addresses for individual cars because we want to
They can hear it.
we want to do over-the-air updates as well as this, that, and the other for vehicles, which is cool. I get that. They can own the software and this, that, and the other. But there has to be a way for us to be able to repair them. There has to be. There has to be.
I don't think anybody's arguing that at all. I think that's we all know we have to have it, right? My question is really, what is it exactly? Yeah.
But do we have to have it? In the eyes of the manufacturer, do we have to have it?
In the eyes of the manufacturer, we're the absolute competition.
I mean, in the aftermarket, the questions for us, the question is not, we have to have it for sure.
There are a lot of brands that support the aftermarket and see the value in the aftermarket, though. I mean, you look at Toyota, one of the best-selling brands, give us great support.
Sure.
And a lot of the other manufacturers, we can purchase their training, we can buy the tools. Some of them are affordable, some of them aren't. But I think they see the value in it. But you have to, from what I observe, I think the OEMs are looking at us like, well, these guys they're not trained on our systems. They don't know how to use this stuff. We give them access to a scan tool, and then we get 900 support phone calls a day. So, I think that's the other side of it is, are we even going to be trained, or, do we even have it together enough to be able to have access to this stuff?
And that's kind of my point is, the industry's not involved. Let's have a discussion. Let's figure out what it's going to take to separate the professionals from the non-professionals. But I don't know. Again, I'm not saying I'm against it. I just don't understand what R2R 2.0, the details. What is it exactly they're looking for the manufacturers to do?
Well,
I know that there's.
So
Go ahead.
Hunt had a good point about the gasoline vehicles. He said actually it's stopping selling 100% gasoline-powered cars. If the car has a 48-volt booster on a serpentine belt, that is considered a hybrid. That's what Hans Hand says. Maybe that's a way of getting around it.
Okay, let's do this. I got it. Bigger screen and audio.
Before we do that, I think that maybe we should probably sign off on this, and because we're already at 10:45, and I mean, unless you guys want to go all night, but I'm thinking that maybe we should. I think we can continue on with this conversation, and I think I have another person I'd like to bring in here as well, and Mike and Dustin, maybe we can get you guys to join us then.
Well,
does that sound good, right?
I mean, good.
That's entirely up to y'all. That's entirely up to y'all. I mean, we flat out need a voice, and the R2R2 is very badly worded in two individual basic documents of like, hey, look, do balloons float, or do you want your dog to die? That's basically how they're trying to put this.
You walk to work or just take your lunch?
I mean, exactly, but that's how they're trying to push this agenda. And I need all you guys to read it. I mean, most of us are very well aware of what's happening over there, but I mean, flat out, it's dangerous for us. It is. But in the same breath, we have to continue the push that we have, and NASDAQ is our only leg, and ASA. I mean, that's flat out. That's all we have.
Yeah, I think there's no point in complaining about it unless we have a solution. And I think more so we need to all work together to formulate a solution or back an existing solution.
The solution is to send Dustin to Washington.
I was going to say, if we want to put a pin in this, like DeFazio was saying, I mean, I could ask ASA's Washington D.C. representative Bob Redding to see if he'd be willing to come on. But it's not difficult. If you go to asa.org, I think, and there's a tab that says like Taking the Hill. It has a lot of the like a blog type deal where Bob kind of gives Washington D.C. updates. So there's information about this stuff in there. But I could potentially have him on. But I gotta say that we're talking about people that I highly respect, and I don't know. Anyways, let's play the video.
No.
My-
Speak your mind, Brent. Speak your mind, man.
My main thing is the first one could have been a lot better if more shops utilized what was before and after. And I think the second one needs to be more shops involved. Anybody in the aftermarket should be involved and actually going to utilize anything that, if anything did pass, utilize it. Because today, I'd say the majority doesn't utilize what's available to them.
That's a good point. I mean, some of the, Dustin saying it's obviously and DeFazio, obviously we've benefited from 1.0, and I wouldn't disagree. I mean, I don't know, but was NASTAF a factor? I guess R2R had, being legislative, it had to put some legitimate pressure on. I don't disagree at all that we benefited from it. But what Mike, you're saying is that, we're the minority. The majority of the industry really didn't benefit that much from it, right? You're saying, I guess it depends.
I'm saying is they don't utilize what we have now. I think
to some degree they might be and not know it. If they're through service information, what's available there, or scan, their aftermarket scan tool, and their aftermarket scan tool.
I will say that aftermarket information's gotten better since the first one went in, because I know back in the day you couldn't get a brand new vehicle pulled up on, say, All Data in the aftermarket sometimes, or you wouldn't be able to get the information quickly.
It wasn't even available through the manufacturer at that point. You couldn't even have went on there and bought a 10-day, or let's say a 3-day subscription. That was not even available to you at the point. That was, again, brought in there with the R2R.
I'm just, my main issue is, I think to me, it's kind of seemed like it was rushed for the first one.
I would really like to see if I can get us a special guest to come in here and actually talk about this and really, really go over this, because I think it would be great, and I think there'd be a lot of great input on it. So
I just want to say, yes, you're a special guest, but there is a trending thing about having Dusty go to Washington and be our voice. Just saying. I think we need to make this happen.
I am all for it. I will buy the
it.
plane ticket right now.
I don't know. Whatever happens.
I don't know, man. The
Whatever
S3
happens,
might make it there quicker. The S3 might make it there quicker than a plane.
Is it gonna make it?
Brian,
I didn't know they made tow trucks that fast.
Video.
What'd you say, Keith?
I was telling them to pen my video.
You're good.
If question 1 passes in Massachusetts, anyone could access the most personal data stored in your vehicle. Domestic violence advocates say a sexual predator could use the data to stalk their victims. Pinpoint exactly where
Yeah, who?
Domestic violence advocates? Who advocates for domestic violence?
They can stalk your vehicle, though, man.
Hey,
I know that guy.
raccoons.
Can we get him on?
Yeah, I'd like to get Lewis on. For real.
Well, me too.
Yeah.
They said still no volume.
It was
Oh my
low.
god.
It was low for me, but
It just reads the screen.
It really is low.
It's got creepy music in the background, reads the screen, and just says that stalkers could get your information. Vote no on right to repair. That's from Mercedes, by the way. That commercial.
Throw that link in the chat for them.
Yep.
But you gotta fill out TRP paperwork to buy brake pads from them.
Yeah.
Well, not if you buy the Chinese brakes.
Hey, even with the Chinese
Chinesium.
break. Yeah.
Well, that if you're going to bring up China, then I'm going to have to go into talking about part of this issue with them not wanting to release information is how many different companies from overseas, and I'll just say the eastern areas, may have went in there and hacked their way into systems that were supposed to be secure in the first place, right?
Hey, Mercedes fixed that, man. They have face recognition now. I mean,
Right.
literally, you
Yep.
cannot log on to Sentry without doing a 360 face view of yourself.
Right. Right.
And BMW's actually shut down new TIS this week. They
Yeah,
shut
I
them
saw
down.
that.
Yeah, they
So I
did.
mean, and I imagine that ISTA's going to end up going to an online similar program. Otis, I really don't think Otis cares a whole lot.
They'll
Well,
they'll limit things another way.
Well, nobody can figure out how to use
most
it.
people out just by their what?
Internet connection.
It's $900 a year, though, man.
I know, but just going through all the paperwork,
$900.
people have been told like, I can't do with all that crap, and I'm like, well, then you don't deserve it then.
Well, dude, you get your guided test plans. You can see
Yeah.
all your codes. You get all your
And if you buy Audi, you get Volkswagen.
No.
Yeah, you do. So I mean, and now Elsa Pro's a different
that's a
story.
separate license.
That's a few thousand more bucks, but
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, if you run guided test plans, you don't need it. You don't need Elsa Pro. I'm not
Until
gonna
they
say
fail you. Until they fail you.
Oh, they're gonna fail you every day. But the thing is you're also gonna know that, hey, look, I have a U fucking I have a U. I got
Seen
a
that code before.
U110 code. I know that, hey, this is a code in another module. I need to look at it. These are things that are going to have to be learned over time from people. You know what I mean? So, I mean, realistically, I do believe that the Right to Repair Act did help us. And I think that you have the manufacturers trying to shut us down right now. And you have the electric manufacturers that aren't giving us anything. Like, has anyone been able to buy a DC-DC inverter from Tesla at all?
No, but I
Couldn't
had a
even get a
brownie
muffler.
once.
Huh?
I had a brownie once.
You bought Peroni once? My man.
Well, they shut that dude down that rebuilt the Tesla that made all the videos.
Yeah, but he was doing standalone powertrain kits for Teslas. Is that the same guy?
This was a couple
Yeah.
of years ago. He was
Yeah.
like his own Tesla. The same guy.
Same guy.
Yeah, they were going in and shutting those cars down.
Wow.
Because the Tesla's nothing more than an iPhone, which
Right.
again, right to repair.
That's like if you buy
Again,
a Tesla that's got like the supercharging package on it from an aftermarket dealer, a few months later they can just turn it off on you if you didn't buy it through a Tesla dealer.
Well, we have the same thing going on with the. I actually have a guy that I'm working for right now before I'm rolling off on my own. He bought a Taycan, and we went over the internals, and the only difference between a Taycan and a Taycan Turbo is programming.
Yeah.
$30,000. $30,000 in difference. Same motors.
So think about that from a consumer perspective or even a legislative perspective. If they can go in and shut down the vehicle, I mean, they can do that on the interstate, right? They have that's perfect evidence for them saying, okay, we have complete control over this vehicle. So, maybe that doesn't look good for us because should we have that control as well? I mean, where's the line drawn? And that's something that I think is going to be a really big battle.
You're right there.
Yeah, Mike, the mechanic, brought up a good point because this is how they were doing it. They're shutting them off at chargers, so they're sending software out to all the network chargers that when this car connects to it, install this software on the car while it's charging, and it shuts off the features
Interesting.
it was sold with.
Oh,
Yeah.
holy mackerel!
Well, here's this is the perfect point, and this is again why we need right to repair because, if you let corporations do whatever the hell they want, if you let these companies do whatever the hell they want, they're going to. Some will play wrong, but then there's people that say screw it, I don't care.
Can I say something here?
Please.
We have cars right now with ADAS calibrations that can flat out be calibrated wrong on purpose. Is that our fault?
Oh, yeah.
Or is it the manufacturer's fault?
Don't get me started, Dusty.
I'm just saying.
Depends.
I'll be here till 1 a.m.
Yeah, but anyways, I know it's late for you guys. You East Coast guys, it's 11 o'clock.
I think this is a conversation that needs to be handled in itself, and I think we need to have all present company involved. Who's your special guest, Keith, that you want to bring on?
I'll release that name as soon as I know whether or not he's available.
Yeah, as soon as you get it confirmed from
Yeah.
the NYC.
Yeah.
You gonna bring Scott in?
No.
No.
I'm thinking it's is it a DS as initials?
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay.
Exactly right.
It'd be cool. It'd be cool to have him on. He could make sure he provides a case study for us too.
So do you guys want to do this next week?
That would be brilliant.
Can we do this next week, Keith? Are you going to be in town? No, you're not.
I will be in Arizona. That is right. But either which way, I can still.
Yeah, but 9 o'clock is 6 o'clock there. You live in Pensacola at 5. Yeah, you'll be fine. Yeah, okay.
I'll find my way.
Yeah. Yeah, we could do that. I think next week. What do you guys think?
I'm down.
What do you
It's
114
definitely a
people
hot
watching
topic,
live
that's
think?
for sure.
Well, it's interesting. Like I said, this is something that we've tried to get shops to pay attention to for 3 years at least, and now
They don't care until it stops them from doing struts.
Or
now
alignment.
that it's gotten emotional with these these commercials from the manufacturers, now people are paying attention, which I guess better late than ever, but we're talking about less than a month away is when this
And it affects the alignment jobs.
So it
heavily.
appears that we're okay. People would like to talk about this next week.
Yeah, let's get DS to bring a case study as well.
I'll do my best.
Yes.
What about
Hey,
DH
no.
and MR?
I don't require DS1s.
Well, what about DH and MR? I would like them on as well.
Yeah. I would
Yeah, I mean, if
absolutely
y'all
agree.
think that's a good idea,
Let's do it.
Just let you know, even a special guest might require a filter.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, I actually really
Yeah.
worked on it tonight, man. If we cut this cup out, I could do a really good job.
Well, you did pretty good for like getting pulled in.
Hey, I appreciate it from you guys, though. But I mean, this is a topic that is honestly one that really needs to be evaluated from all sides, flat out. And like this is very serious to us because with the electric vehicles coming in and they're being pushed more and more and more, and then you have the hybrid vehicles coming in as well. Man, they're getting some loopholes into the emissions facts.
Yeah,
Like,
one thing to consider is there's nothing. I mean, there's only so much we can do now. That we're talking 2 or 3 weeks till this vote. I mean, what is it, November 3rd? I think.
yeah, but that's only one state, and if we can change things on a federal level, that state won't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
except,
I mean,
except
that's
California,
where you
because they
guys.
just do whatever they want.
But that's where you guys with real pull is going to come into play. Like, we need people that will listen and understand about, that may have been out of the field for a while but still represent us. DS.
but I think it's probably fair to say that government intervention is coming whether the aftermarket is involved or not.
But there needs to be. We need government intervention. I mean, dude. Yeah. I mean, how many of you guys are mobile to show up to shops to just facepalm daily?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we're being serious here. There needs to be some sort of overall certification. I'm not even gonna say for a shop owner, but I'm just saying here's the thing. Here's the biggest problem that I see that the OEs want to interject is if they give us the power to fix cars, that means hackers can hack them. But hackers hacking them isn't our problem. That's their problem. And they need to understand that.
But hackers already hack the stuff, and they hack it based on what the demand is. I mean, you look at Zentry, and they have to go all the way to facial recognition, right? And even that, I don't even think that's out yet, but even that I'm sure will get hacked, right?
No, it's out.
Oh.
No, man, they got IP address. They got rooted into your hard drive now, like Otis. Man, I think Mercedes done a pretty good job about at least slowing the spread from what it was.
You didn't need to do a better job on that price, bro.
Well, but
That's
the
a
thing
hard pill to
is,
swallow, man.
but the thing is, you could get Mercedes J2534 for 2,500 and do engines. Huh? Is it 24 or 20? Yeah. But I mean, but the thing is that's but that's J2534. Now you're waiting half a day for it to program. You could do engine and trans only, which is you know,
And it won't
nothing.
do all the older junks that I work on.
Right.
It does some of them. You know, your Altel will brick Sam's for you.
Well, no gracias.
I mean, if nothing else, man, you know, I can call Chris over to Auto Logic and be like, hey, look, I need you, bro. And he'd be like, all right, here, you know, you need to slide that credit card. I got you.
I need all those digits, all of them.
But anyways, guys, man, it's getting late. I gotta tend to the wife and everything. I appreciate y'all having me on and everything, and I donate another $2.50 next week.
Much appreciated.
Hey, thanks for your opinion on the matter.
Oh yeah, I appreciate you both coming on.
Yeah, thank y'all for the cameo. I appreciate y'all having me.
Hey man, Mike is that dude. I mean, Mike can literate things that, you know, like you guys can. I mean,
I can illiterate things.
Literally, I send
I
PayPal
barely know how
money.
to speak English, Jack.
Yeah,
That's why I
but
don't talk very
literally-
much.
Yeah, I will PayPal Mike $20 to write me out something, and this is not a lie. It's happened. It's literally happened, and Tommy can justify it.
Next time you need a resume, I got you.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Like I said, hit me up on
Thank you.
Facebook.
I appreciate y'all and everything y'all do for the industry.
Get that dome life forever. Hashtag Thunderdome.
Yep.
Is there?
Hashtag the dome.
Hashtag the dome.
All right. Well, y'all have a good night. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
Thanks again.
Night, guys.
We appreciate everyone hanging out with us this evening.
Dustin, one last
I think we're going
F-bomb
to tune in
before
for
you
next
leave.
week, right?
I want one last F-bomb.
We'll
Can
be
we
here
do the
next
F-bomb
week.
as we're cutting it off?
So,
And that's all. That's it.
Yeah. So we'll try the plans for next week or what?
Yeah.
I think next week.
that's the goal.
All right, ladies and gents on YouTube. We'll see you then.
Now,
Alrighty.
one more question before we
Uh-oh.
leave here.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to leave everybody with it.
Oh, and thank you, Michael Whitman.
Yes.
So one question for everybody that I want you to think about and maybe do your own research on. Do cars have an antivirus? Do they have something there to prevent a virus from touching a vehicle?
Called Black Ice.
I'm pretty sure that is a virus.
Right.
No, it's just signs of a virus.
Surrounded by viruses.
All right, is that it, guys?
That's it.
Yeah.
We're out of here.
Go ahead and wrap up the stream.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
See ya.
Good night.